Hello everybody, and a very warm welcome. This is kind of special video for me, doing it because a couple of weeks ago I did an episode of Hidden Jewels of Soul and Disco. And it featured the debut album from Doris Duke, I'm a Loser. And here it is, in all of its glory. And I'm getting reactions to the videos, requests, questions about certain episodes I did. But for this episode, I was like getting 5 or 10 mails, Instagram messages, Facebook messages, like daily. So you had many questions about it, especially people who are just getting into that genre. Are asking constantly about this album, saying it's one of the favorite albums they ever heard, it's one of the best albums they ever heard, and they are eager to know the backing story or more, getting more information out of it. Unfortunately, I can't ask Doris Duke about her side of the story, but I was able to track down Jerry Williams Jr., who is a legend in his own time. If you see his repertoire, if you see what he did, you can really consider him a legend. And he produced, arranged, and wrote or co-wrote each and every track on this album. I got in touch with him and he was kind enough to do an interview with me where we are getting through all the questions you've had and getting to the backing story of this album. Just to give you an idea, Jerry Williams Jr. also co-wrote one of Soul's greatest tracks, and I think it was also Song of the Year in 1970. And this is She Didn't Know She Kept On Talking by Dee Dee Warwick, a stone cold deep soul classic. He produced, arranged ZZ Hill. This is an Oprah album. If you see one of my last episodes, I'm featuring him. Fantastic album. He also did work for Irma Thomas, Patti LaBelle, for all those people. And he's, like I said, really a legend in his own time. So I hope you enjoy the interview. I hope you're getting all the informations out of it you want. And please let me know in the comments if you have additional questions, so I will forward them to Mr. Williams. Once again, a big thank you for all the support for the channel, for the comments, for the communications, for all the great people I met during this journey. I really can't thank you enough. So, have a great listen. Stay safe, stay healthy, listen to good music, and I'll see you next time. Bye. All right. Hello, Mr. Williams. Thank you so much for taking the time doing this interview. It's a great honor to have you on the show.
Well, thank you. Nobody else had asked me to do anything, so you got all the time you want.
Yeah, you are considered as one of the greatest producer and songwriter in soul music history. So I'm very happy to have you here.
Well, shit, I'm too great to talk to you. If I'm all of that, I mean, shit, I should have Mike Wallace or somebody.
All right, Mr. Williams, you started your career when you were 12 years old. Who taught you to sing, produce, and write songs?
Well, nobody taught me how to sing. My mother was a singer, and I got tips from her on what to do and when to do it. And but basically so my mother was a damn good singer. She was a jazz singer, and she taught me about timing. That was if you can't get a person to get into the right timing, you're not going to have anything. you gotta have timing. That's and my stepfather, he played all the instruments. He and my mother had a group together called the Donna Labs. Um, they went, I think, farthest they went out the country was Cuba at that time in the 50s.
You had many success in the 50s and also in the 60s as a singer yourself. And you're one of the few artists I'm talking with who took care of writing, publishing, that's what's yours, copyright. You have your publishing rights, so you took care to make sure that what's yours is yours. Who made you aware of taking care of this?
Yvonne, who was my wife, deceased, she did it. She just grabbed up everything and said, "This is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong." And she straightened it up and showed me how to keep things straight. And I'm glad you can't see my desk because I'm not practicing any of the things that she taught me. And yeah, she taught me one thing. I heard people talk about it, but I didn't realize what it meant until I got ready to do it and found out that I didn't know how to start. And that was budget your time. She showed me how to budget my time. That's about it.
In 1968, you got the opportunity to work for Atlantic Records together with Jerry Wexler. This working relationship was very short-lived. Why? Because it was a job everybody would kill for.
Well, I didn't know what a company man was, but I found that the kind of job they gave me was a company man job. And I'm an independent. And I had people explain that to me, but I didn't understand it until I lived it. And the one of the things that you're supposed to do as a what we call it, you learn how to stab people in the back and without them knowing it. That's one of the top three things that being a company man encompasses. I don't know. That's and
So
I always hung around old guys anyway, so I could pick up on things. And so I let young guys study me if that's what they want to do. As a result, I've had several rap hits, and it's not because I did not put them down. I tried to raise them up in the industry and in their everyday life.
So you decided to split ways with Atlantic and do your own thing.
Yeah. Wasn't that it? It was easy, really. I had asked them to let me go, and they didn't want to. So I had to do some dumb stuff in order to make it happen. All I did was overshot my budget. And in corporate, that's that's poison. So I took Gary Barnes, who was my best friend, and we went to Miami, Florida, and checked into the most elite hotels, Sheraton Ford Ambassador, rented 2 convertible luxury cars, a Cadillac and a Lincoln, and had food coming, food guys would be coming with their trays. And just one would be passing the other one, leaving our street, and another one. And I don't know why, but we had 2 suites, two 2-bedroom suites,
Wow, yeah.
And so, those companies, they look at things every 30 days. They don't look at it. What are you doing now? And when they saw the bill, they called me to accountant, and so, it was one of those things which is great in a way. They really didn't ask me; they told me, so that made it easy too. I didn't have to lie, which I wasn't gonna lie. But nobody almost thought of the accountant's name. When it came down to the nitty gritty, I was fired at the end. He said, we just can't have you doing this. Now, I don't know. As I've thought back, that could have been an opening for me to do a lot of apologizing and pleading. But why do that? I didn't want to be there in the first place. Although I seeked them out, they didn't come looking for me. We just I just bumped heads or something. Not in bump heads. I just ran into Atlantic as Atlantic was trying to run into whatever qualified Black person they could to take on that job and make them look good. Theirs was was very political. And I didn't know much about politics. Still don't know enough. I voted for the wrong people. But
so you left Atlantic, and in 1969 you met Doris Duke. Were you the one who found her? How did you meet? How did you get together?
Well, I had a friend, Troy Davis. His name is on some of the songs, if you look at him. Hell of a writer, but a major screw up. If it was wrong, he was ready to do it. So, but I liked what he said, what he talked about, what he was about. So plus he didn't have nowhere to stay, and I let him sleep in my basement. And the growth of our friendship really started there.
And he introduced you to Doris Duke, or how did that connection happen?
Okay, Troy was what you would call a pretty guy. He was nice looking, the whole thing, So if you had him with you, he would draw the women in, and so that was another reason we kept him around, because, the women would be asking us, like, who is he? Who is he? Well, he really wasn't anybody, but he was good looking, he had a dreamy look about his eyes and all that shit. And he just hung with us. And he'd do almost anything, especially if it was crooked or sideways. He was, but hey, I love the music, all right. Let me see. I think the first thing I wrote with him was Irma Thomas song, and it was called "What's So Wrong with You Loving Me."
Yeah, you produced a lot of stuff for her,
Yeah.
Yeah. You also did some stuff for Zizi Hill, the opera.
Oh yeah, that is a classic, if I do say so myself.
Yes,
but not just myself. Other people have said it.
Yeah. But you created what's known to be the greatest deep soul album of all time with Doris Duke, I'm a Loser.
Yeah.
And so how came the connection? And another question is, you almost wrote or co-wrote every song on this album. How were you able to get in the perspective of a woman to write these songs the way you did?
Well, I was raised by a house full of women. Jerry Barnes was raised by a house full of women. But anyway, he brought her to me. She was, like the other women, crazy about Troy, and Troy would not give her the time of day. And he's supposed to be her road manager. And I said, Troy, this won't work. If you don't talk to Doris, we really don't have an artist. And she would get angry, and because Troy wouldn't pay her any attention. And I had to threaten to fire him a couple of times if he didn't give Doris the attention. She was, everything had to be built around her. And rightfully so. She had the hit. She was making the money. Nobody screwed her out of anything. It's just a matter there was more that she wanted. And Troy was that other thing that she never did get. So as a result, she hated me for it, And most of the time, I ended up taking sides with Troy, but because most of the time, Troy was right. And then on top of that, she drank. She drank. I think it was called McNaughton, the liquor. She drank like a fish, but she could go on stage and perform like hell. And so if she wasn't half drunk, I'm saying half drunk to be nice, but really totally drunk, is if she was always cursing somebody, mad at somebody, and it was because she was never the center of attraction. I just found out that she died. What?
The album is considered as one of the greatest deep soul albums. And did you know that it might have been one of the greatest albums, deep soul albums ever recorded when you put the songs together and when she recorded that and all of this came together?
Well, she didn't really get involved in any of the things that we were doing to make this music. Um, just give her the song, sing it down a couple of times, and by the next day, she was ready to put down a final. Um, she she was a master in uh, background vocals. She had, matter of fact, when I got her, she had just come off the road with Nina Simone. She was one of Nina Simone's background singers. And they had just come back from Europe. And then Troy introduced her to me. And before the night was over, we were trying to learn songs. And I ended up writing at least 2 songs that night. But we used to write all night long, just drink liquor and write. And you got the story there. It's
Once the album, you're doing great. Once the album was finished, you had problems getting a label for that album. Is that correct?
yes, very correct. Nobody wanted it. I would. I remember at that time $10,000 was a nice little piece of money, and I was asking for a $10,000 advance, and everybody laughed. Man, get on out of here with that crap. Well, I found out later, after the record became a hit, the problem was I had written and collaborated on some material that men couldn't identify with. Men were running the industry, and it reached in and grabbed a man's macho and pulled it out and made and talked about him making things right and doing what's right. So I got turned down by every company in New York. I mean, I went to companies that never heard of the blues, like I think Epitaph and what was the other one? Vanguard. Vanguard didn't put out anything, but can't think of the girl. She had hits. Can't think of her name. Do you remember that girl that was on Vanguard? Judy somebody.
Yeah, yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Okay. Well, yeah. So I didn't know that's what was happening. I just thought it was almost like I thought I had cut a dud, and so meaning a piece of something that nobody wanted. Um, so my wife, she was working, um, uh, I think for AAA or somebody like that in New York, and so we put the money together for me to come out here to Los Angeles and pitch it. Because I mean, I went through the directory and just company after company after company. I would get appointments, all kinds of things. When I get there and start playing the music, no, man, this ain't it. And in a way, it wasn't, because I found out that it was all in a woman's favor, talking about what a man should do, and that just didn't pull on the heartstrings for men. So I came to California. I went to everybody again. I mean, I went to companies that was so small, some bitches was doing business from a phone booth, you know. But I kept going, and let me see. Yeah, so the last company I went to, everybody told me not to go to. Now, you telling me not to go there, but you are not going to help me. So I said, shit, I'm going. So I went over and saw Wally Roker, who Wally used to be the bass singer for the Heartbeats, Down on My Knees, and he loved it. And the only problem with him loving it, he was broke. His Ampex had made him a deal for $2 million. And the deal went like, here's $1 million right now, and do your thing. We like what you did, we'll give you the other $1 million. He put out crap music from the beginning. And no, he didn't make it. And when so Ampex, they were distributing, they came in as the tape distributor. We didn't think much of 8-track and 4-track. But they came in and they took over. And as they were taking over, Wally talked to me about letting him have the record. And I said, well, man, I got to have some kind of money. I mean, I've been out here 2-3 weeks, and no, keep getting locked out of my hotel and all that, and my wife having to send me her work money, you
Mm.
know, and but she was sweet about it. That's why we lasted so long. Um, I um, I agreed. I said, well, I'm not doing anything with it. I'm not going anywhere with it. Not on no other. I mean, I went to companies that I knew for a fact would screw me. They snatch your clothes off as you walk through that door. Um, one of them was out of Newark. Uh, anyway, it doesn't matter. But it means I would like to Savoy. I mean, I went to Savoy because let's face it, they had done a hell of a job on Nappy Brown. You heard Nappy Brown?
Yeah.
Okay, they took him farther than anybody else could have taken him. And I knew I was a fan. Uh, I took it to them, and it wasn't. It just wasn't their cup of tea. Even though they were putting out blues and uh, R&B, I won't say soul with an R&B twist. That's the only way I can get out of that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so when they turned it down, I went to Wally. And I told him, take it. I was sick of it. And he got that record on the street within the same week.
Wow.
And it took off. I mean, it went everywhere. And, I was shocked. He called me because what he did on the deal that we made, it was like he, the $10,000 I was asking for, I told him, I said, man, I don't have to have 10,000. It was about 10 days before Christmas. And I had 4 daughters
Mm-hmm.
and who loved me. And I want them to continue to. And I didn't want to screw up Christmas. So he said, well, can you get a check cashed? Yeah, I got to get it. He said, well, okay, I'm going to write you a check for $5,000 and you're going to get it cashed in New York, right? Yeah. So I took it to my jeweler and he cashed it. And he was such a good friend. I really wanted to tell him the check wasn't no good, but I said, no, a little bit too much honesty here. I'm gonna end up starving to death. So Wally put it out. Record took out off overnight, and all of a sudden I'm getting calls for for her, and I'm managing her and everything else. Um, but Wally Rokem, he made it happen. Then he came back with more stuff that he wanted me to do, and we hit a lot of local charts with stuff when we didn't go with major charts, which the most major at that time was Cashbox.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it had it made Billboard look silly, but some kind of way it got turned around. And
Who came up with the cover art for that album?
I did.
So,
It,
what? Tell me something about it. How came you up with the idea, and how that? Do you see that on her leg?
yeah, that's I did that on purpose because I was pissed at Doris. Doris and I weren't really talking to each other. We would talk to each other through other people like
All right.
Troy. And when we got the proofs back, I saw this piece of material hanging from under her pants leg, which was supposed to be tucked inside. And that was about the meanest thing I could think of at that time to do. And I went on and okayed it. I said, yeah, that's it, you know. And so that's all I could do. But no one really even ever noticed it, and unless I brought it up, you know. I guess people think it's part of the outfit. Well, you would think that. Yeah, that was
Your
Doris.
secret revenge.
Yeah, yeah. We and she got me back because she got me sued by James Brown. She was supposed to play Cincinnati on a Saturday night, and James Brown wanted her on his show, and I okayed it and everything. Got the deposit, which the deposit was like half of. I think I was getting $1,000 to $1,500 a night for her when other artists were still getting $300 to $500. Yeah, but she was drawing in the ladies, and so the clubs and other venues, they were very happy to have her. And she could, that's the other thing, she could sing. And if you notice on the album, you have listened to the album, right?
Of course.
Okay.
Anytime.
She doesn't do any screaming, any hard blues, none of that. Just her natural voice. She was great. She was really great, and she was destined for greatness. And oh well, I guess I was shocked when I saw that she had passed away, because believe it or not, I had just gotten up enough nerve that I knew she was still in Newark, New Jersey, but I was scraping up enough nerve to talk to her again and give her a piece of money, and let's try this thing again now that we're adults. And but when I did finally find her, it was talk. She was in the obituary section of the paper. So that was that. Doris Willingham was her name.
From her first husband.
Is that who it was from? I'm getting information from you.
Yes, she was married to someone called Willingham. So she released a single as Doris Willingham. And then I think it was you who made her Doris Duke.
Yeah.
Or was it her? It was you. So that's how it is. There's one thing I want to point out, because not that you just wrote one of the greatest and produced and arranged one of the greatest deep soul albums of all time, you also co-wrote one of the biggest soul songs of all time, which was recorded by Didi Warwick, and it was called She Kept on Talking. She didn't know she kept on talking, where I have here the German single of it.
Uh-huh.
And I would love to hear the story about it, because as far as I know, these are not the original words to that song.
Near the end, in the last verse.
Was that a song which was supposed to be written for Doris, and you gave it to Rex on?
Yeah, now that's one of the things that, and I can understand it, but hell, I was playing grown up. I guess we all were playing grown up, but we weren't grown up yet. And I had written with Gary Bonds, Charlie Whitehead, and myself. We wrote She'll Never Be Your Wife. And we turned it into, well, Jerry Wexler changed the title and moved some words out, because the entire third verse or last verse is, as we wrote it, is not there. No, and big as Jerry Wexler was, I wasn't about to comment on anything except greatest thing I ever heard. That's it. Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Wexler. And he cut it on Lulu. There's an album called Lulu by Lulu. Have you heard it?
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay. So he did it on Lulu. He told me, he said, when I was at his house, and he told me, he said, he said, the best thing that could have happened to you is us letting you go. He said, because you're a wild man in the studio. And these guys don't understand it. So that's when I started kind of channeling everything through Macon, Georgia. And because I was looking for that special kind of soul. And the white boys down there had it. Blacks was still playing cute riffs. And those white boys down in Macon and in Muscle Shoals, Alabama, they were playing the black stuff, the real black stuff. And so I started doing everything out of there. Although I did a few things out of New York. I produced Patti LaBelle.
How did that song end up with Jerry Wexler and not with Doris? How did that happen that you gave the song to Didi Warwick, or Jerry at least?
Okay, Jerry was in Miami, and he was cutting Aretha Franklin. And he called me one night. It was real late. Well, for us, it was like, I don't know what time it was, but it was very late. And he asked me, he says, Jerry, yeah. He said, have you got, I need a hit. Have you got a hit? So anyway, as a songwriter, you never say you don't have anything. Said, have you got something? I need a strong woman song. I told him about She Didn't Know. Told him we just finished it, which I don't think, well, just finished it. We had, it was about at least a month old. He said, well, get it down to me in Miami. At that time, the restrictions were few as far as flying things. And on a little box, I had mine, just a little box with a little tape in it. We went out to JFK Airport, and you could just drive off through the airport grounds without anybody even caring. So we finished the song, made a copy. I was playing piano and Gary and Charlie was singing, and we took it out to the airline. And you could put them, if you had a little package like that, all you had to do was give it to a stewardess. And your people would have to be at the airport when the plane landed, and the stewardess would give you the box. And if it was something kind of small, like that tape, didn't cost you a thing, nothing.
Wow.
And we'll never see those days again. And I never really found out what happens if you went there with a big box. I guess you just have to, you could get it on. I know you could get it on. But then he had somebody standing by, and the stewardesses, they came through the same way as the people who worked for the airline, on the airlines, or with the airlines, or something. I don't know what's happening. And you give it to them and go on where you need to go. And he was at Criteria Studio, and whoever picked it up grabbed it and took it to him. Because it was only a 2-hour flight from New York to Miami. Yeah. So that's how we got it to him, and he cut it that night.
Wow.
And taught it to her. He changed the title. I didn't care. He could do anything he wanted to do. And but here's the weird part. When I first went to Atlantic, I sat down with I think it was Henry Allen. He was their first Black executive, and he kept the Blacks in their place. So I was given an appointment with him. He hired me. Well, I went in and played him some stuff. I think it was Shipwreck, and I forgot the name of the other song, but Shipwrecked was by Jerry Williams was one of the songs. Jerry cut about 10 of my songs, and here's the funny bit: I maintained ownership of all of them. And our deal, when I first went there, they were supposed to get half of the publishing on everything. And I would still be a publisher, but I'd be a co-publisher, you know. And I wouldn't have anything to do with decisions that were made. Some kind of way it never made it to the contract. So I ended up keeping all my stuff. And I just turn it in, give it to Ahmet Erdogan's secretary, and they'd write it up, written by Jerry Williams, Gary Bond, blah, blah, blah. And that was it. So, but what I didn't tell you, all of those songs, yes, I'm telling you now, all the songs that I cut, no, all the songs of mine that they cut was theirs in the first place if they had gone the way that we had discussed it. Them having the publishing, me being the co-publisher, and they gave me the paperwork to fill out, right? So I left their name off, and the woman in the copyright office up there at Atlantic, she didn't know from anything and really didn't care. She was just doing a job. Her thing was paperwork. And so Jerry ended up cutting at least 6 of the songs on other artists. And I maintained ownership until today. And nobody caught it, nobody cared.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mr. Williams, I know you're a very, very busy person, so we just wrap it up with a final question. Is there some unreleased material from Doris, from the I'm a Loser album or the other album you did? Is there unreleased material, unreleased songs with her?
I think I have some tapes, but they're rehearsal tapes. Just me playing the piano and her singing into the microphone. I mean, we don't have anything that's ready to go, you know. It's just some demos. And I'm not totally sure of them. If I have them, I know I should. I'm visualizing them, but I don't know. I kept so many things. got over 2,000 songs.
Yeah.
And but I love writing. We still writing. We got some great stuff that we've done here uh, for my new album, which is called, by the way, Black Grass.
No, you answered just perfectly. I do hope that you at some point have the time to go through all your archive and maybe release some of that demo stuff, because I'm pretty sure people would love to hear that. You had also released an album which was called Sorry You Couldn't Make It, where you also released some demo stuff, which was just a couple of years ago. So everybody who's interested can buy it. Some great music on it.
Yeah, I'm surprised that at the attention it has received. Now, I didn't consider myself putting out a piece of crap. It was just something I liked for my few fans to hear. And I think both of them bought a copy. So
I bought a copy too. I have a special edition.
oh, great. So yeah,
Yeah, that would be great. If you have the time to go out through your archival and make maybe a compilation with stuff you did through the years. I mean, you had so much output, like you said yourself, and it would be great to have another view on how a song developed. You know, you hear the demo and you know the finished master, but it would be great to get an impression, especially, you know, with Doris. It would be a seller because that album is known all over the world. And if you say, okay, now I release a special edition with the demo versions of it, or make it as download, which is a cheaper way to distribute nowadays, that would be just great for people to hear how that developed. You get a whole new connection to that album or to whatever kind of material you have of this.
Yeah, well, I am going to try to do that with the Doris Duke.
Well, Mr. Williams, thank you so much for taking the time to do this. I really can't thank you enough. You have no idea what an honor it is to speak with you and hear the story behind all of that. So I know you're a very busy person, and I don't want to waste more of your time. So I really,
You're not wasting my time. It's because of people like you is why I do this.